Hi, this is Lisa Somerville for Divinity Designs. Today I'm here to share with you the release for December 2023. This month we're releasing one stamp set, 2 custom dies, and 3 paper pad collections. First I'll share with you the products being released this month. Then I'll share with you some samples that I've created along with a few tutorials and then samples created by our design team. The stamp set, the Solid Rock. This is a set of 5. The custom dies, Jesus, Word, and Layer. This is a set of 2. You have the word die and the background layer die. So here you can see the word die cut and embossed from white cardstock, and the background layer die cut from blue cards. When die cutting the word die, be sure to die cut and emboss this die following the directions for your die cutting machine. Embossing the die will bring out the details of the die. Anytime you see 2 shades of purple on the packaging or the web images, that does indicate that you should emboss your dies for best results. Again, here's the word die and the background layer die. And here you can see them layered together. I used Bearly Art Crafts glue to adhere these 2 die cut and embossed panels together. Again, that's the Jesus, Word, and Layer die set. The next die is the Slimline Pierced Fan Background die. This die coordinates with our Slimline card base and our Slimline die collection. You'll die cut this die following the directions for your die cutting machine. Although this die does not need to be embossed, embossing the die will further define the piercing marks on this die set. And here you can see this die cut and embossed from white cardstock. And shown here is the Slimline Pierced Fan background on the Slimline card base. And here you can see one of our Slimline dies was added underneath the background die to add additional color. And here you can see one of our larger Slimline Pierced Frame dies underneath the background die and then on top of the Slimline card base. And if you'd like to change the look of the background die, try adding some of our Slimline frame dies. Be sure to visit the product page on our website for more inspiration using the Slimline Pierced Fan background die along with additional Divinity Designs products. And next I have the paper pad collections being released this month. First we have our Gradient Garden Slimline paper pad. This 6x9 paper pad collection features 30 designer papers, 5 sheets of each design. Again, that's the Gradient Garden Slimline 6x9 paper pad collection. Here you can see one of the papers from this collection, die cut and embossed using the A2 portrait card base with layer die set. And here's those same die cut and embossed papers. This time I've added the matting rectangle for a pop of color between the layer die and the base card. This beautiful paper pad collection can be used with many of our card base and special fold card dies. And last, I have 2 pre-printed paper pad collections to share with you. First, we have the stained glass poinsettia square card fronts. This paper pad collection coordinates with the square card base and layer die set. The square card fronts can be die cut using the layering die. This paper pad features 32 designer papers, 8 sheets of each design. And now I'll share with you the beautiful papers in the stained glass poinsettia square card fronts paper pad. Again, it's a stained glass poinsettia square card fronts paper pad. As I mentioned, the papers in that collection can be die cut using the layer die from the square card base and layer die set. You'll simply center that layer die over the pattern paper, then die cut and emboss following the directions for your die cutting machine. That will leave you with a die cut and emboss panel that you can use on your square card base. So again, here's that die cut and embossed layer panel on top of the square card base. And to add a pop of color between the layer die and the card base, I've used our largest square die. Keeping this card rather simple, you can add an embossed sentiment. Here's another one where I've added an embossed sentiment panel. One where I've added a die cut sentiment. And now I have 2 additional cards where I've added some of our decorative frames and additional die sets. For added dimension on this card, I did add the layers to the card using foam tape. And I do have one additional card where I used the panel on an A2 card. Again, those cards were created using the stained glass poinsettia square card fronts, paper pad, along with additional Divinity Designs products. And the last product that I have to share with you is the Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts paper pad. This paper pad features 36 designer papers, 6 sheets of each design. This paper pad coordinates with the A2 portrait card base with layer die set. The card fronts can be die cut using the layering die. On the majority of the cards that I'll be sharing with you, I did use the A2 portrait card base with layer die set. This die will cut and score your cardstock to create an A2 size card base 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. The layer is 4 by 5 1/4. The Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts paper pad features 36 designer papers, 6 sheets of each design, and here are the pre-printed papers in the Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts paper pad. Again, that's the Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts paper pad collection. And to die cut those card fronts, you'll simply align the layer die from the A2 portrait card base with layer die over the pre-printed paper. Use removable tape to hold that die in place, then die cut and emboss following the directions for your die cutting machine. And here you can see that layering panel on top of the card base. And I've added an embossed sentiment. And here you can see I've added the matting rectangle for a pop of color between the layering panel and the card base. And for a different look, here you can see I used the matting rectangle to die cut and emboss the pre-printed panel and then adhered it to the card base. Here you can see a completed card where I've used the A2 portrait card base and layer, the matting rectangle, and one of our foiling dies. Here I've added one of our frame dies. Here's that same panel, but I've added one of our decorative dies. Another A2 card with one of our decorative dies. And here you can see I used one of the panels along with our decorative dies and our square dies. Now let's create a few cards using our Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts paper pad along with additional Divinity Designs products. So these short tutorials that I'm going to be sharing with you all focus on the Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts paper pad along with additional Divinity Designs products. If you have any questions about the products used or any of the projects shown in this video, you can use the leave a message button on our website to send us an email. You can see that I've already die cut and embossed all the pieces that we're going to need to create our cards. So here we have the A2 portrait card base with layer, adding the matting rectangle for a pop of color between the layer panel and the base card. Next, we can add one of our decorative oval frame dies, and then you can add the die cut and embossed oval using one of the papers from the Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts paper pad. I wanted to add a little more definition underneath the pre-printed paper pad, so I've added the pierced ovals die set. And here you can see my completed card. I did pop the decorative panel on foam tape to add some interest to the card. Now let's create a square card using the Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts paper pad. You can see I have my square card base and layer. I have the largest square die for a pop of color between the card base and the layer panel. One of our decorative dies with the layer. And then I have one of the paper panels from the Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts paper pad die cut and embossed using our circle die. So here's what that card would look like with just the decorative panel, the circle, and the square card base with layer. To add interest to the paper pattern layer, I did use one of our embossing folders. And here you can see my completed card. Here you can see I've added an embossed sentiment panel along with our ovals and pierced ovals die. And now I have one more tutorial to share with you using the Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts along with additional Divinity Designs dies. This time we're going to create a shaker card. I have my A2 portrait card base. I have my Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts die cut using the Manning rectangle. And I have our large pierced frame die. I also have 2 pieces of acetate and my shaker elements. So I've added score tape to the back of the large pierced frame die. I'm going to remove the backing from the tape and then adhere a piece of acetate. Next, you'll add foam tape around the frame on the back side. Make sure that your foam tape is butted up to the edges so that way when you add your shaker elements, they don't fall out of the card. Then remove the backing from the foam tape and add the shaker elements. Now, if you don't want to use foam tape for the depth, you can die cut the frame die, stack those die cuts on top of each other, so that way you have depth for your shaker elements. Next, you're going to want to seal the shaker elements within the card. You can do that by adding a piece of acetate, or you can add the pre-printed die cut panel. Here, I've added another piece of acetate on the back so that you can see the shaker elements within the frame. Then I'll adhere the pre-printed die cut panel and then adhere that to the card base. Now my shaker card is ready to be embellished with a sentiment. Let's take a quick look at some of the projects that I created using the paper pads from the December 2023 release. First, we have the cards I created using the Heavenly Angels A2 card fronts along with additional Divinity Designs products. And next, the cards I created using the stained glass poinsettia square card fronts, along with additional Divinity Designs products. Again, these cards can be kept simple, letting the paper do all the work. Or you can step up your cards using our decorative frame dies. Again, here's the E2 card I created by just using the center portion of the square card front. Now let's take a look at the projects created by our design team. More inspiration using these and additional Divinity Designs products, visit the product pages on our website, like us on Facebook, or follow us on Instagram.